What's up everybody? We're back with another tutorial. It has been quite a while since my last one, but I promised symbols, I promised craft, and I promised some other things. So we're going to take the time today to go over the basics of symbols. Now, symbols in Sketch have become more and more powerful as the versions of Sketch have gone on. So when Sketch first came out, they were very much like the symbols you see in Illustrator or the rest of them, design programs where you create one object, you make a change, and it cascades throughout every single object, which is great, but it also can be a double-edged sword. And by that I mean you could make a change that you want locally and it will change globally. And again, if that's what you want, that's great, and you still have the opportunity to do that here. But I love how Sketch makes symbols 100% editable for a local object. So if we have something where we need to change the text, if we have something where we need to change the size, maybe we change, I don't even know what, but they allow you to make those changes without going out to the other objects that reflect that symbol unless that's your intention. And so the more and more that this has gone on, you now have nested symbols and many other different kinds of symbols. So now that I've been rambling for probably a few minutes, let's just create something very simple. And I'm going to create a very simple symbol here for like a contact list or an avatar or something like that. And I'm going to make it very simple because you can take what I'm going to go over today and apply them really to any kind of symbol that you need and make it even more complex, or maybe take some of these layers out and make it even more simple. And basically the principle that you need to remember above all else is just start with one symbol and create the symbols inside of that symbol, and that will begin to give you the freedom of having these nested symbols and everything like that. So let's just dive right in, and we're going to create a rectangle. We're going to make it huge. Let's change the width to, let's just say 400 by 200, 100. So this will be a contact card. So we'll come in here, let's change the fill, we'll change it to white, we'll give it some shadows, take the blurs away, 1 pixel, we'll make it a gray, we'll create another shadow, make it the same gray, no blur as well. So we go back to 100%. This is going to be our card. We'll come in here and we'll have an oval, and this will be where our avatar is. We'll make it 64. We'll line it up, centered, great. 20 pixels, 16. There we go. And let's get some text in here. We'll say, Mother of God. That's huge. Okay, first. First, last. If you're not first, you're last. Ricky Bobby Inc. Okay, so we'll take that, make it black. Roboto light, massive font. Let's change that to 30. All right, here we go. We'll get this in here. Same width here, 16 pixels. And we'll give it some sub header here. We'll do the lighter gray. I like that. And we'll change this to 20 because why not? Line these up. Okay, so we've got this thing set up. And I'm going to bring this back over here. So this is the setup to our symbol. So now we've got this set up, blah, 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 blah. This is going to be our card. I'm going to click this. I'm going to hit create symbol. I'm just going to say contact card. We'll make it one word. Actually, we're gonna try to cascade these, so I'm just gonna say card normal. We'll do that. And I kind of went over this last time, but if I come over here to symbols and I now have a group called card because I named it card/normal. And so what you're gonna do by doing that is create a cascading menu of your symbols, and if you do this, this will just add a level of organization, and you can go 2 or 3 layers deep as well. So if I want to say card normal contact or card normal favorite or whatever you want to do there, it will keep cascading. It will keep, nesting that menu. And it's really, really nice. And it just takes some of the thinking out of organizing. And if you're like myself and with some of your designs in your libraries, you have a massive list of symbols, this is really nice of just organizing these objects into groups rather than trying to look through these massive, hundreds of symbols. Oh, it just gets annoying. So try to remember to do that when you name your symbols. Now, let's go into our symbols page. Typo of the mouth. So here we have symbols page. We have our card, right? Back up a little bit. Okay, so this is our symbol. It's our master symbol, right? Well, let's say this here. We're going to make this a symbol as well. We're going to create a symbol. We're going to say name. And we'll just leave that. Who cares? So now there is our name symbol. We're going to name this. We should have changed this first of all. We'll just say title. Title. So let's take this, create symbol, title. We now have our second symbol. And then this, we will have create a symbol and we'll say avatar. We'll bring this guy over here. And there we go. We'll also take this opportunity to make different states for this text, or for this card rather. So the reason I've created these symbols is because I'm telling myself that later on there may be a reason that I want to change the color, the font size, whatever it is, of this object. So first of all, I'm going to click name. I'm going to bring this out to the edge of the card. We'll bring it in probably about 20 pixels. Just so we've got, this is the allotted space that I've got for my first last name. So when I create another one, it will block off. I'm going to do the same for the title and bring it right there. So the one thing that you all need to remember above all else is that to create these nested symbols like I'm going to do right now, is that Sketch is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting and thinking for you. All you need to make sure that you do is take the time to name your layer appropriately. And I'm going to come back here because that's going to drive me nuts to have a uppercase A in there. So name them accordingly. And then from there, make sure that the objects you want to be nested and grouped together are the same size artboard. And I'll show you why that's important here in a little bit, but just remember to do that. I'm going to bring this up just a little bit. So I'm going to create now, I almost forgot something. So click on this rectangle, right? If we go over here to my card, normal, I've got card normal, title, name, avatar, rectangle. Again, going to drive me nuts. Let's change it. So the only thing that's not a symbol in this card is the rectangle. Do not forget to do this if you intend on changing colors. So we'll go back to the rectangle, we'll hit create symbol, and we'll say color. So that is our color layer. So we'll come over here, and now we've got our color. So for most web design, you will have 3 basic states. And so I'm going to show that off here today. We'll have a normal, we'll have a hover state, and we'll have a selected state. So we'll say this is color, hover. Let's nest these again. So we're going to change the name of this color to normal. Oop. And that's hover, and this is selected. So we'll come over here, color, selected. So let's go in here. This is going to be my hover color. So we're going to say that it's this blue, but the opacity we're going to make about 10%. What's that look like? Okay, so the user would be able to tell that this is a hover state. So there we go. Hover state has now been made. Let's go over here to hover selected, and we'll make it that same blue. So, but at 100%. So now we have our 3 states, and Sketch is going to see, okay, the symbol lives here. It's color at normal. But I see that this user has created multiple shapes for this to group together for when they want to change it later on. The same is going to apply to your text. Now, if I'm in a hover state, it's not going to be that big of a deal if my text is the same color. It shouldn't be that drastic. You'll see, we will have the accessibility of difference in color, a big enough gap that the user will be able to still read with a hover state. We'll have to check with this title. We'll double check. We'll make sure that's good. But for right now, we're just going to roll with it. Okay, so the first thing, the same is going to go for here. But when we are in a selected state, most of the time we're going to reverse out our text to be white. So we're going to go back here. We're going to say name, normal. just like we did with our colors. Title, normal. Oh geez, keep making all these typos. Okay, and now we're gonna make a second state. So drag this down, holding Shift and Alt. Same, we went over those in the last tutorials. And now we're gonna say this is gonna be selected, right? That's our selected state, which means I want my text to be white. It's gonna reverse out. Same goes for my title. Go back here, make another layer, change the title to selected, and then come down here to white. There we go. Now we have our multiple states. They're there, you can see them. And then I'm going to come in here to avatar, just do the same thing just for the sake of conversation. This is our avatar normal. I am not good at typing. And then our avatar selected. Okay, same goes here. We're gonna make it white. Control C, eyedropper, it's still there. There we go. Now, this is the basic layout of a nested, really simple symbol. So, we've got all these different layers. They're all, all over the place. And the one thing I want to make sure that you guys remember, if you recall what happened earlier in the video, is if I click on this layer and I hit create symbol, it's going to create the symbol elsewhere. So it's on you as the designer to grab those and organize those. Similar to what I've done here, there's no right or wrong answer to the organization, but I really like to keep my different states and different states, I don't know what other word to use, of the different layers together, so that if once I create a whole mess of symbols, there's going to be a lot, and if they're scattered all over the place, there's no organization. So I take it upon myself to make sure that they're all together, so that if I need to make a global change, I can do so. Now let's go back to the original page, and I'm going to pull in this symbol we've just made, and I'm going to show you why it was important to name these appropriately, take the time to do so, and organize these and everything that we've done just now. So let's go back. I'm just going to delete this. I'm going to go over to my symbols page. I now have my card, normal, and I'm going to bring that in. Here we go. Now I'm going to click away, but nothing's changed, right? This is our card. I click now to my card, and boom, look at all of this that Sketch has done for me. I now have my different title text, my different states. I have my title text, my name states, my first, last over here, and I'm going to go right now, and this is a boo-boo, right? I didn't name this appropriately. This says first, last. So I'm going to go back to my symbols. Where is that at? First, last, right? I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to say name. There's that double capital again. Jeez. Name. Okay, here we go. Now go back, and now it says name. So we take the time to appropriately name those. I'm glad I made that hiccup just to show you why it's important, so that when this gets crazy, when you get really intense nested symbols, taking the time to name those appropriately has a huge impact as far as you understanding what layer does what. We also have our avatar, and we also have our color. So let's just take this down. We're gonna click Shift Alt drag and create another version. I'm gonna hit Command D, and there we go. We now have 3 different versions of that symbol. But I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna go to name, and I'm gonna say Steve Smith. Doesn't change anything but that symbol. Fantastic. I'm gonna come down here, and I'm gonna say Lord Michelle Johnson. Basic names, and then the last one we're just gonna name Tony Stark. Not Stacker. Tony Stark, because why not? We're gonna come back in here to title, and we're just gonna say Steve Smith is friend. Michelle Johnson is wife. Tony Stark is Iron Man. There we go. And now we have modified each of these individually, and they have not affected the other one. It's great. Now we're going to go over the different states that we set up. So if I click on Michelle Johnson, I come down here to color. I'm going to say color, hover. And now she changes. Beautiful, right? Doesn't affect the other ones. Now let's go down here to Tony Stark, and we're going to say he is actually selected. Now, it doesn't affect anything else, and we see that our text looks goofy, our avatar doesn't look goofy. In a normal picture it would be the same, but again, for today, we're diving a little deeper. So we're going to say, okay, well now I need to come up here and say title needs to be selected text. Come over here to name, selected text, and over here to avatar, and we're selected. How about that? One symbol, 3 states, 2 different states for your text, 2 different states for your avatar, and that is going to be your basics. Now you might be saying, okay, sweet, but I work in responsive design, as do every web designer, and I need to be prepared for mobile and other things. I mean, if I click on this, oh man, that looks atrocious. What am I going to do? Well, luckily for you, I'm really smart. So let's go through this and teach you how to set this up. So you'll notice that when I set up the symbols, I didn't set up anything as far as where these objects were arranged. You're going to want to do that as well. So if I go back in here, you're going to notice that I get these resizing options. I need to tell Sketch what happens to these if I resize them. So I'm going to say I need a fixed width and height, and I need this to anchor to the left side. So if I change this at all, it will not change in size and it will stick right to this left side. Same goes for this text. It doesn't have a fixed width, but it does have a fixed height, and I need to say same thing. Stick to that left side. Don't move. Same for the subtitle, fixed height, and there we go. So we're telling this, stay put. If I extend this out, don't affect the objects within this. So let's go back to our page, and let's say Steve Smith, we're at 400 pixels. I need to do a web page with, super HD, whatever. Oh my god. There we go. Perfect. Nothing was affected. I changed the size of this. If I go into color, it's still going to change. Nothing's going crazy. Everything's the same. I'm a genius. Now you're a genius. Here we go. Beautiful. And because this was all derived from the same symbol, it affects those as well. So if you have multiples there, you realize you made the boo-boo of not setting up those resizing options. You go back to your parent symbol, make that change. Every single child that you made on any of your designs is now going to reflect that. And it's fantastic. So we talked about how these changes affect globally with the resizing going back to the parent symbol. And we also talked about if we change the stuff individually in each one of these, it's not going to affect the entirety of the family. But what if you want to? What if you want to say, you know what? I want this to not be a circle. I want it to be a half circle. No, let's not do that. That's a dumb example. Oh, geez. All right, let's say rectangle. Let's get rid of the circle. Let's say we want a rounded rectangle. We'll come in here. Let's give it 4 pixel rounded corners. And same goes here. Copy it down. Make sure it's all centered up. And say, you know what? I want you to be white, just like the other one. There we go. And you'll notice it just happened in your symbols. So now let's go back, and then we go to our page. Look at that. It cascaded down. We made that change. How great is that? So just keep in mind the one thing of local versus global, that if you set it up right, you name your layers accordingly, you will have an organized nested palette over here, your overrides. You'll be able to make those changes without worrying if you're going to mess up or not. But if you do want to make a global change, just head right back to your symbol, make the change in your nested symbols that you created up here. It will cascade down into your first original asset that you made, and then that will cascade down to the rest of them. So that's going to do it for symbols. Again, I don't want to confuse you guys. You can get really deep in here and make really intense symbols. But if you use these basics to build your symbols and the understanding of local versus global, naming your layers accordingly, and how to nest these things, you can make them more and more complicated. So I'm going to leave it right here. If I get feedback from you guys that you want to dive even deeper into the symbols and all this nestedness and making these changes, I will absolutely do so. So I'll wait for that feedback, but until that happens, I feel that by diving in with this understanding, you're going to be able to really take your designs to the next level, save yourself a whole bunch of time in making modifications, and just make your life a lot easier. So, like I said, give me any comments below on things that you want to see that I haven't covered yet. Like this video, share it out to all your friends that design. I appreciate you, and I will talk to you guys again next time.